and welcome back to the channel. I'm Susan.
I'm Tab.
And we are MCU Explained. And today we're doing a deep dive into episode 3 of WandaVision. Oh my gosh, Tab.
Episode 3, Now in Color.
I know. Oh yeah, Now in Color. And also, like, it felt so short.
It did feel so short. But I believe, from what I understand about the overall length of the show, going forward, the episodes are going to start to get longer.
Oh, that's awesome, because
Yeah.
I really felt like this episode was so short, but also in general, the way they played with time, which I'm sure we'll get into when we go through, would also make the episode seem shorter than it actually is because
That
of the
is
way
fair.
time is in it. Anyway,
Yeah.
let's keep going. Thank you guys all for sending us some excellent questions. We'll get to those at the end of the show, but first, let's go through episode 3 of WandaVision.
Episode 3, which starts with the Brady Bunch-esque opening sequence. And again, a lot of people have noticed, it's been in every episode, there's a lot of hexagon imagery. That could be a reference to AIM, maybe.
And we mentioned we didn't think they would introduce AIM, but there's an awful lot of AIM being like kind of hinted at. So maybe this is a situation where the Tesseract is actually the Space Stone, or like where they're putting in little hints or spices of AIM now, but they're maybe not going to fully address what AIM is until another show or another movie.
Right. Yeah, maybe. Or maybe they'll be more hesitant.
And they're like, AIM.
Here's AIM.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so so maybe they'll be there, maybe it's just a thing, whatever. So the first thing we see is the doctor visiting, seeing if anything's strange about the pregnancy. Vision's very concerned that maybe, because she is very pregnant very quickly, so he's
very pregnant very quickly. And again, references to fruit a lot, which there have been sort of like, I mean, not necessarily fruit, but there was the strawberry in the first episode. There's been, and I don't know if that's like just a reference to fertility or something that's just kind of going around, but like lots of comparisons to fruit.
There was, and it was interesting. And I don't know if it was a comment on like her craving food, or if it was because she kept eating food throughout the episode, and I noticed that she seemed to be eating the fruit that was about the size of her stomach.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe both, because the doctor did go through all those fruits.
Oh.
So that I thought that was a cute way of maybe like winking at us and saying, here's how pregnant she is now. Like, it's
and this is, and again with time, this is how fast it's going. So she's this big, she's this big, she's this big.
It's interesting that the doctor, although all he had is a stethoscope, and I'm not a doctor, but he didn't notice it was twins.
It's true, though. Yeah, I mean, he didn't do like an ultrasound or anything, but I guess you could probably hear 2 heartbeats.
Yeah, I think so. And Wanda and Vision also didn't notice, which is even more strange, and maybe indicates that it was being hidden from them by someone, either external or maybe by one of the twins. I don't know what little baby wizards are like.
Yeah.
But
wizards could be real tricky.
Yeah, but I do know that he ends up being very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And can resist Wanda's magic.
Exactly. So yeah, that's absolutely something that, I mean, I thought of that too. I know that this is a completely different fandom, but it totally reminded me of Padme giving birth to Luke and Leia, where like nobody also there seemed to know that she was having twins.
Great point. No one seemed to know.
Completely different fandom, has nothing to do with this, but literally I thought that when she was giving birth and the second baby came out, I was like, oh, this is like remnants of Padme.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. I never thought about how weird it is that no one told Padme she was having twins. I guess because we all knew she was having twins.
We did. And I mean, to be fair, we also knew that Wanda was probably
Yeah.
twins. Like whether we didn't know which set, if it was going to be the set from the Vision comic or if it was going to be the set from House of M, but we were pretty sure.
Yeah, it's always twins.
It's always twins with Wanda and Vision. So yeah, but maybe that was it too. Maybe they just counted on I mean, they're hoping to hit a wider audience with this, but the like hardcore fans, like, no, they always have twins.
They always have twins. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then so did you notice that one side of Vision's collar is untucked for the entire episode?
No.
So he's wearing a sweater vest.
Yeah.
And I'll put a picture here. He's wearing a sweater vest and a tie. And it's the collar's tucked in, but one side is out for the whole episode, which means that he went through costume changes and adjustments and probably multiple days of filming with breaks, and they kept making sure that one was tucked in and one was tucked out,
So
which might be
deliberate.
Yeah, which means it's probably deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
And does it have something to do with Wanda's control over perfection slipping?
And to be fair, in this episode, we had the incident with the neighbor and the cutting of the hedges into the stone fence. Is her control slipping? Is perfection slipping? It really did seem like she was kind of losing control. And even to the point where, like, I mean, we'll get there at the end, but the Sokovian and her accent coming back and stuff like that, she does seem to be unraveling and becoming increasingly more unstable as the episodes go on. And we've only seen 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we know that Wanda is one of the most powerful characters in all of Marvel. And if she slips, that's not good.
No, it's never good. So the thing with the fence is actually the next thing that happens. He goes outside and he sees that. What I thought was so weird about wasn't that Herb is like sawing into the fence between them. It was weird to me that he didn't stop when Vision pointed it out. Mm-hmm. He reacted and he was like, oh, whoops. They kept doing it.
And to me, that was just more of, because if we're all being controlled by Wanda, I like that I said we, like I included all of us.
As we all are.
Yeah, as we all are being controlled by Wanda. That's normal, yeah. I thought of it as the same thing where like he was like, oh, huh. And then he kept doing it because he actually couldn't not do it, because there was like a look on his face that kind of glazed over too.
Yeah.
Like, the actor. And I was just like, that's some real good acting right there. Because he was like, he acknowledges it and then is like,
can't stop.
Yeah, he can't stop. He has to keep doing the thing that he's doing.
And it was also, I think for the first time, very obvious that it's just a backdrop behind him.
Yeah.
Which was interesting too.
Yeah. And that became, I almost was like, because later when we see Agnes there with him, it looked even more like a backdrop.
Yeah.
Like way more like a backdrop than the first time around. So
it is possible that the pregnancy distracted Wanda so much that she does not have the bandwidth to keep everything going.
For sure. Absolutely. I mean, we also saw Geraldine do something, which again, we'll get to later. That happens much later in the episode. So let's keep going.
So Vision comes back in and Wanda's even bigger. The baby is growing way too fast, babies. Possibly for magic reasons, possibly because this is a show that keeps jumping forward in time, but also possibly because one of the babies is exactly like Quicksilver and would move faster than a normal baby.
And then the other baby being a very high-powered magical wizard, but all is possible in that sense. So yeah.
So then they're working on the nursery, and she feels that fluttery feeling, and then the butterflies come to life, and she's not sure she did that. She says, "Did I do that?"
Which is interesting because it's pretty clear you did.
Is
like
it?
Who else did? I mean,
Yeah.
There's
So
someone else who could have.
there's someone else that could have. Because again, I don't know anything about baby wizards, but is he could just be shooting off magic in there all the time.
For sure.
Yeah.
And again, we see butterflies, which
Yes.
have been in the end credits this whole time. So it's pretty clear at this point that the butterflies were a reference to the babies.
Yes.
Since they were very directly associated with the babies in this episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, but if it was Wanda and she did that, and like she said, she didn't mean to, again, boy, it's really slipping. We're really slipping here.
Really slipping, Wanda. Get it together, girl.
And it gets worse because she starts to have contractions then, and the lights go out, the sink overfills. There's just a huge increase in activity when she's having contractions, which totally makes sense to me. Like,
totally.
Yeah, you're not in control of anything.
And then it starts to affect not just their place, but the whole neighborhood. So you see reactions from other people's houses and what's going on there.
Yeah, it gets out of control.
For sure.
And then she starts eating she's eating papaya when they're in the nursery, and then she's eating a pineapple after. So that was just like one of the things I noticed, where she's moving through the different kinds of fruit.
And she's going through all the fruit that the doctor said.
Yeah. So then we have the moment where Vision says something's wrong here, and he lists all the weird things that he has seen happen, and Wanda just goes boop boop and backs it up. It's not even a rewind, it's just a quick redo.
Yeah.
So quick, in fact, that I saw people online saying they thought that their stream messed up and they like rewound to try and fix it.
What's really funny, that didn't happen to me, but I did rewind because I didn't think the stream messed up because I felt like it was intentional, but I did want to make sure that she did it intentionally and it wasn't just like you know what I mean? Like
like how she's having accidents.
Yes, like I was making sure it came from her very specifically, and yeah, so I totally understand that, but I just wanted to see it again because that was actually faster than she did last time. So we're simultaneously almost seeing her have more control over certain things that she needs to have control over, like Vision, but less control over things like the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
To me, this was so interesting because I think it indicates that Vision is not just like a memory or an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
He has free will, and she has to hide stuff from him.
Yep.
He's behaving like Vision would.
Right.
So he could be, like we've said before, is this just a version of him from a different spot in the timeline? Mm-hmm. Did she just resurrect his body? Or way out there theory, that she picked a person and made them into Vision.
Oh, that didn't even occur to me. I was just like, oh yeah, he's from the multiverse, or he's from a different timeline. Like it's something like that that's happened, or she resurrected the body. I didn't even think about that. Interesting.
The reason it's especially interesting is that in the comics, Vision was not made by Tony, and I think we've talked about that too. Hank Pym made him, and they used the brainwaves of another character, Wonder Man, to give Vision essentially his personality. And right. Wonder Man also becomes an actor. So this would be sort of the inverse if they wanted to reveal that this had been Wonder Man the whole time playing Vision.
And there was a cut scene that they filmed for
Endgame.
Endgame?
Yeah.
Okay. It was like Guardians. I don't remember where the Wonder Man cutscene came in.
Oh, I didn't know there was. Oh, I thought you were talking about something else.
Oh.
There was a Wonder Man cutscene?
Yeah, wasn't Nathan Fillion cast as Wonder Man as like a cameo?
He was, but I didn't know if he actually filmed anything.
I thought that it was cut. Maybe you all can help us out.
Yes.
How I'm remembering this and trust me, my memory since quarantine has not been the greatest. So maybe I'm just making this up because I like have it as headcanon and think that it's true. Which is a total possibility for me at this point in my life, where I was like, no, headcanon is true now. But I thought that they cast Nathan Fillion and there was a cutscene for like Guardians 2 or something.
I would love to see that.
Maybe I'm totally making this up because I feel like you would know.
I mean, they release cutscenes like kind of wildly and like unexpectedly. So I feel like they're always popping up. So I might have just missed it if it does exist.
Right. Well, maybe it doesn't exist. You all can tell me, like, you totally made that up in your head. You're becoming Wanda. This is not how life is. Anyway.
Okay, so possible that maybe Vision is essentially an actor.
Yeah.
That she cast, which is fun. And then we have the commercial for this week, which is Hydra Soak. And all of the imagery is about life being too much. And then they say escape to a world all your own, where your problems float away when you want to get away, but you don't want to go anywhere. Hydra Soak. So this is pretty straightforward about what's happening. She's created a world all her own. She wanted to get away, but she didn't really go anywhere. She's just in this town. And also maybe a little bit of a nod to that Hydra brainwashed her, maybe. Because if you're trying to connect these to the trauma like the previous ones, and then their slogan is like find the goddess within, which like that is like Hydra did help her find her powers.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we'll see.
If this tracks, then next commercial should have to do with Ultron.
Yes. Somehow
should have to do with Ultron.
Yeah.
Again, I felt like the commercial was really short this time.
It was a shorter commercial. It was still the same actress.
Still the same actress.
With that.
And then I also was like, in general, and we talked about this in the last episode, the use of time is really interesting because does the commercial feel shorter because the whole episode plays with time that's something that's supposed to happen within 9 months happening within like, less than a day in her world. So is the commercial purposefully shorter to mess with our sense of time? Because that's a really interesting thing if they're trying to also mess with the audience's sense of time.
I could see them doing that for sure. Because also the pacing of the commercial was faster. Because those older commercials are,
By the way, when you watch commercials about bath products, they are not like that. They're like escape and like relax, and there's like spa music playing. They're not like, it's not like quick cuts and then like in a tub. Like that was just, it was kind of jarring for like a soap commercial.
It was, and it was a bunch of disasters in a row. The disasters in a row, I feel like feels more like when if it's going to be a cleaning product would be like Pledge or like counter cleaner
or like Mr. Eraser. Yeah.
Not cleaning for yourself.
Right, cleaning because you have kids who just destroyed your house, like that type of thing. But yeah, it was interesting. It was a very jarring commercial in the middle of it.
Yeah. I don't think we've talked about the theory that the actors are the same every commercial because they're her parents and they were. Did we?
We talked about it.
We talked about
it. Did we record us talking about it?
I don't think so, because I actually think we said, let's see if they use them again in the 3rd episode.
True. Yeah, for sure.
So there is a theory that those are her parents that passed away in Sokovia.
Interesting. And I really like that theory because it also plays into if these are Wanda's traumas, them going through her parents and her parents kind of walking her through her traumas does kind of make a lot of sense and is kind of cool for her healing process or whatever she's doing. Whatever she's doing. Her healing process. The way we heal from trauma by like bringing other people into it, creating a world, and then controlling
everyone. So her water breaks
Mhm.
and it rains, of course. What else would happen? And then Vision uses super speed to go get the doctor instead of flying, which is really weird.
Mhm.
Vision has super speed, but in the comics, it's ranked as the same as Spider-Man's super speed. So it's not that he went full like Quicksilver run is unusual.
That is unusual. I also thought that maybe it had to do with one of the twins being like, because we know that the twins have her powers and Quicksilver's powers.
Right.
Maybe it's a nod to Quicksilver. Maybe it's a hint that we might be seeing him at some point in the show.
Maybe.
That was the only reason I thought he would potentially use super speed, because again, it makes way more sense for Vision to fly. He would be a way faster flyer, and he would have gotten the doctor there way faster if he flew.
Yes. For him to use super speed, do you think that that means that she gave him that ability?
Yes, I do.
Right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. How else would he do it?
Yeah, absolutely. She's in control of everything right now, and he couldn't even save someone that he wanted to save without her permission. So I would say yes, absolutely. She gave him that power to use at that point.
Oh. So then Geraldine shows up after Vision leaves. And Wanda does, here's our nod to classic sitcoms. In case you didn't know, in sitcoms, when the actress is pregnant, but the character is not, they will start wearing big coats all the time or carrying big boxes or laundry baskets or stuff like that to hide that they're pregnant.
Mhm.
Their character isn't pregnant. So she goes through, she does the coats, she's got like the bowl of fruit, she has a vase at one point, just basically anything to cover up that she's pregnant.
I did like when she liked her coat. That
Yes.
made me laugh so hard because like they usually don't acknowledge the coat at all. And so when she was like, oh, when she acknowledged the coat, I was like, awesome.
This one's a nice one. I think she kept that one too, didn't she? She took it off instead of making it disappear. Yeah. So things are escalating, obviously, as Geraldine's talking to her and telling her a story about work and all that. And then the stork is alive that she painted, walking around. And Wanda cannot get rid of it, which means that for some reason, this stork is resistant to her powers.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was interesting that the imagery they used when trying to make him disappear was red smoke.
Right.
Like little red smoke bombs instead of her usual like sparkly red swirly stuff, or just blinking out.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt the same way where I was like, this is an interesting way to showcase her the resistance to her power. And it was almost like her powers weren't working properly because we're even visually, we're not seeing them the way we normally see them. Mm-hmm. So it was very interesting. And we have a couple of theories on that stork.
Yeah, go for it.
We're pretty sure it's Mephisto.
It's probably Mephisto.
Probably Mephisto coming to take those babies.
Coming to see how things are going, maybe just to check in. Mm-hmm. Be like, oh, she's going to labor now. I should really check on those babies that I want.
Yeah, and the fact that there are only a few characters in all of Marvel that are resistant to Wanda's powers, and he's one of them. And also when Mephisto shows up, who's outside her house?
Oh, Agnes.
Agnes is outside her house, who we think they're working together.
Yes.
And so maybe she's just kind of like out there kind of watching to make sure her buddy can like check on the kids the way he wants to check on the kids.
Also, it's weird if Wanda didn't have any control over the stork as she didn't and wasn't able to make him go away. Why did he go hide back in the room to keep from being seen by Geraldine?
Yeah, to keep being seen. Well, I mean, Geraldine's wearing the sword necklace the whole episode this time.
Yeah.
Like, so to me, that was exactly what was going on. Like, Geraldine can't see me. I'm going to play along with this. And also that kind of messes with Wanda's head a little bit. Like, why
Yes.
can't he be seen by Geraldine? Like, but yeah, that to me was exactly that, where it's like the sword agent can't know that I'm here. Or the
Yeah.
sword agent, if they do see me, needs to think that I'm part of this.
Yeah, that I'm just like a stuffed animal in this room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, and then do you think do you have any other theories for what the story might be?
I mean, the only other theory I thought of was the other character that's resistant to her power is one of the twins, and
right.
like
He's just having wizard fun.
having some wizard fun with his. It's a much less sound theory.
Yeah.
That's not really based in a whole lot, but I mean, I'm pretty sure it's Mephisto at this.
Yeah,
point.
me too.
Yeah, and also the pairing with Agnes being outside around the same time. She shows up just a little bit after, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we actually don't know how long she's been out there.
It's true.
So it could have been the whole time.
Yeah.
And there is that whole thing about like the devil appears in many animal forms.
Mhm.
Not unusual. If he was a rabbit the week before, he's a stork this week. Like he can be all sorts of things.
Totally. It'll be interesting to see next week if there's another animal that shows up.
That would be interesting. I'm wondering when, like, the show is, even though it feels like it's slower, the show is following like Marvel's normal act, like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. That was very much Act 1. So now we're going into Act 2, and that is usually when we get some more information on the villain.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he'll show up as a character. Maybe he'll show up as him. I don't know if he's going to show up as himself, but maybe.
I don't think he'll show up as himself. Maybe at the end of the series, but I definitely think we're going to see him as maybe another animal, and then possibly a person as a character.
Yeah. If like a goat shows up, that's him.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Okay, so Wanda goes into labor in front of Geraldine, who, even though she is shocked, is ready to help because I'm sure she has all kinds of training. Does sword train you on how to help with emergency baby delivery? Maybe,
sure. Who knows what they train for in sword?
Yeah. But so she is absolutely ready to help. Vision gets to the doctor. His car is broken, of course. And then again, uses super speed instead of flying it back, which will take longer. So when Geraldine is helping Wanda give birth, there's a small, maybe intentional. I don't know if I want to say this is 100% intentional. It's a meme that's going around, so I'll post a picture of it. But she says very similar lines to Wanda when Wanda had to blast the stone out of Vision's head, which is the "look at me, I can't do this, I can't," and then yes you can. This is the same exchange. That. Yeah. Intentional or not, I'm actually like 50-50 on this, because "look at me, I can't do this, yes you can" seems like a pretty normal thing to say during pregnancy.
Which is probably why it didn't register to me as the thing that Vision said. Also, that scene makes me so sad whenever I have to watch it. So it's heartbreaking every time.
Yeah. God, there were so many. Well, that's going to get me on a tangent. In Infinity War, there were so many times that one of the good guys tried to do the right thing and killed the person that they loved to save the world, and then Thanos took it away. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So Vision arrives after the first baby's born, who is also already too big to be a newborn. So the baby's already growing too fast.
Yeah, the baby, which means the next episode they're gonna be toddlers at like, right?
I mean, if we're that the decade progression is like exactly 10 years, wouldn't they be like 10?
Oh yeah, I guess.
If they're born in the 70s and now we're cutting to the 80s, I've assumed it's been about a 10-year differential, but that doesn't mean, I mean, it could still just be 5.
I mean, I'm still not entirely sure how time works in this show. I'm gonna be honest. Like it's so crazy and it's happening all in her head. So
Yeah.
yeah, sure. I mean, if we see him as 10-year-olds, great.
However long Wanda feels has passed,
Right.
is what we will see. It is a good way to get around having to cast babies and work with them for an extended period of time.
That is true.
So Vision arrives right after the first baby is born, and he's sad. But then they have that really sweet moment where Geraldine takes the doctor and they go in the other room, and Wanda says, "Do you want to meet him as your real self?" And I thought that was really sweet. Yeah. And Vision concedes on the name Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
And Tommy is Speed. Speed was born first.
Yeah.
And then Billy comes out quite a bit later. It's so funny, even knowing that their twins are named Tommy and Billy, just hearing them say the name was like so, I don't know, surreal. Like I
was just gonna say it was surreal. It was surreal to me.
Like I can't imagine for you, Doctor Strange being your favorite. When they say Stephen Strange in Winter Soldier, you must have lost your mind.
I lost my mind when they said it in Winter Soldier. I was like, wait, what? That's like seriously. And so just I didn't get as strong of a reaction as I did to that in Winter Soldier, but for sure there was like a surreal reaction to like, this is happening. Like we get to see these characters, and I love whenever that happens. Like I know really big Thanos fans that the first time he turned with that smile, like that was a huge deal for so many people. And I love that fans of Marvel are getting to see their characters like this and having those surreal moments of like, oh my God, this is coming. This is really happening. I'm gonna get to really see this.
Yes. Yeah. If they mention Kitty Pryde or Emma Frost at some point, I'm just gonna probably fall out of my chair.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you'll just cry.
Yeah. So I was really happy that they just kept the names. We're just gonna use the same names and go with it.
Yeah.
Of course. So as we talked before, very complicated backstory with Billy and Tommy. Interesting that they're calling them Billy and Tommy initially. The first time they were born in the comics, they were Thomas and William.
Mm-hmm.
And Mephisto took them back, essentially, because Wanda used pieces of Mephisto's soul to create life. And then he essentially erased them by taking his parts back.
Yeah.
But later, when they are reincarnated, they go by Tommy and Billy. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we're saying we're not going to bother with that reincarnation story because it is a little wild.
And they are going wild with this, but that would be just so much more wild. And also I don't necessarily think that the MCU wants to deal with like the killing of young people.
That's fair. That's very fair. Also, since they're rapidly progressing, they will be about the right age to join the Young Avengers when the series ends. Yeah. Depending on how quickly she ages them. But so fun theory here is that instead of playing Quicksilver, maybe Evan Peters is playing the twins, both of them.
Oh.
So it still is a nod to that he was Quicksilver because he would be Speed.
Yeah.
But it's also
that.
Yeah, and I would also love to see him play both twins because if you're a fan of his from American Horror Story, the dude can do amazing character acting.
He is so talented.
Yeah.
So I'm all for having him play the twins if that's what's going down in this show. Honestly, I'm just really happy that he's cast.
Me too.
So if he shows up as Mephisto, if he shows up as the twins, if he shows up as a weird like version of Quicksilver that she doesn't recognize, like
I'm however they bring him in, I'm here for it because
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of his.
Me too. I'm very glad he's going to be same in there in some way. Yeah. So after the babies are born, we are outside with Vision again, and Agnes is there with Herb, and they're whispering. And of course, Vision's very happy. He just, he has 2 kids now. And I think he says something about like it being a great day or something to that effect. And they're both acting super weird.
Mm-hmm.
And they ask if Geraldine's in there. They're worried about that. They tell him for the first time we find out she doesn't have a home.
Yeah.
Where is she even sleeping? And she's also, I mean, lied pretty much. If she doesn't have somewhere she stays, she has referenced like going home or getting things for her home, things like that. And Herb has she came here because she can't get through it.
Yeah.
The most he gets out is she came here because we're all, and then Agnes cuts him off.
Mm-hmm.
One of our questions that we got, because we can just do that one now, was what do you think he was trying to say? Let me see who asked that. Adam again. Oh, hi, Adam. I know you. What do you think Herb was trying to tell Vision before Agnes stopped him?
I mean, I think my head said because of Wanda, like we're all here because of her, or something to that effect.
I was thinking she came here because we're all trapped.
Yeah.
Prisoners, we can't leave.
Yeah.
What is interesting, and I know I've said this before, but like this scene especially to me felt like the real show that we're like exploring here is the Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
This had big vibes from the one where the little boy controls the whole town.
Yep.
And if you think a bad thought or a mean thing,
the Bart Simpson one.
Yeah, the one that was also on The Simpsons. If you don't know the Twilight Zone reference, there's a Treehouse of Horror where Bart is basically exactly the same. Like, so her not wanting to say, Agnes stopping him from finishing it. To me, I didn't know if that was like an Agnes motivated thing because she's probably helping Mephisto, or if it was more of a don't let Wanda know we know. What if she hears us?
I think either way, it's an Agnes thing and more proof that Agnes knows way more about what's going on than anybody else. And because it's also really interesting to watch Catherine Hahn's performance because she's such a talented actor. And to have her go from like the different styles, she's, again, we mentioned this in the last episode, one of the only people who switches drastically their style of acting the same way Vision and Wanda do. And then to have her be really serious about Geraldine, like we don't know where she's coming from. Like planting that seed in Vision's head seems very intentional on her part. And planting that doubt seems very intentional because she clearly doesn't want Geraldine in the world. And sure. I think that she stops him because I think she stops him for an Agnes reason, like for a reason like we don't want to give this away yet. I still need something. So that was what I thought the motivation was.
That's fair. But then Herb stops. He goes along with it, which is interesting too, because he seems like he does want help.
Mm-hmm. And that could be anything from, because Agnes is a witch as well, that could be like a slight influence that she might have, or it could be just he can't say it. Maybe part of Wanda's control is that he can't say it.
I would imagine that to even realize that you're trapped in this world takes a certain amount of like being able to break away from Wanda's influence.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And right now with the babies, it's easy. It's eased up a bit. So maybe normally he wouldn't know it all.
Right.
But now he does.
Totally.
Okay. So then we're back it went back and forth between these two scenes, but I treated them separately. We're back with Geraldine and Wanda with the two twins, and Wanda brings up twins, or Geraldine says, "Who would have thought twins?" And Wanda says that she's a twin, and has her accent for the first time in a long time when she says Pietro, saying her brother's name the first time since Age of Ultron. She has not talked about him, at least that we've seen. And then she sings what is presumably a Sokovian lullaby to the babies. Great news. If you watched the show with Portuguese subtitles, it translated the lyrics.
Really?
Yeah. So the lyrics are, "I waited for you, and this day has come. My heart became a home full of light, full of light." So it's very sweet, very lullaby.
Very lullaby.
But also kind of, but also like all things in the show, there's a lot of double meaning. I feel like there, my heart became a home full of light. Like she's created this whole like
so
thing.
Her flowers do have like a sparkle to them, like all the time. So that could be, they could have chosen that on purpose.
Yes. So I guess for me here, cat's out of the bag maybe that Geraldine was able to know what was going on the whole time. So truly, she's been Monica the whole time, Monica Rambeau.
Yeah.
Because she decides that since Wanda brought up Pietro, let's just bring up Ultron.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah.
The worst person she could bring up, I actually can't decide if it would have been worse to bring up Thanos.
Yeah, it'd be a toss-up. The guy who kills your brother, the guy who kills the man you love, like.
But Ultron also manipulated them and made them think
manipulated them a lot.
Yeah, he used them a lot more. Thanos just, I mean, killed Vision horribly, but he didn't like manipulate her into working for him first.
Yeah, but I mean, Thanos made her watch him die twice.
That's true.
She had to kill him herself only for him to rewind time and then make her watch it happen again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
mean, I agree. It's a toss-up. Ultron definitely did a lot more manipulation of her and the twins and definitely caused a lot more terrible things.
Yeah.
I mean, I just wouldn't bring up either one to Wanda.
Don't bring them up.
Just don't talk about them.
I could see the logic there, like, oh, she remembered her brother. She's acknowledging something that happened outside of this bubble. Right. I should keep this going. But probably, I don't know, maybe it's something like, oh, asking her what happened to her brother, or like something like that, rather than just flat out saying Ultron, because boy, does Wanda lose it.
To me, it speaks to two things about Monica Rambeau's character, is that she's very bold and very opportunistic, and that those are both things that were displayed very well in this scene. She took the opportunity because Wanda was finally bringing up Pietro, but she was a little too bold in the way that she did it. She probably could have done it in a more conversational, flowy type way, kind of the same way Agnes has been getting somewhat of like vibes and information from her by playing into Wanda, whereas Geraldine definitely didn't play into Wanda and what Wanda wants and this world, and therefore we find out that
and also to your point about Agnes doing a really good job of adjusting between decades, I don't think Monica did at all. She was still her very bubbly, like, same self.
Oh yeah.
Just in different clothes.
Yeah, for sure. She changed her style, and she didn't change the way she talked. She didn't change like that. And it's clearly so intentional that they're doing this. Like, Agnes needs to blend in, whereas Geraldine, Monica, is told to blend in. Those are two different motivations for these characters. Like, if you're an agent and you're told to blend in because you have, like, because of whatever Sword is up to going into this,
that's a whole different thing than like, I need something from that character and I need her to want to give it to me freely. That's a whole different motivation. Like Agnes and Monica are very interesting characters to play off of each other because they both have infiltrated the world in completely different ways, but need completely different things and have to go about it completely different ways.
Yeah. Absolutely. So Wanda freaks out and starts asking questions, and I respect that Monica like tries to snap in like it never happened, because that has been something that has happened when Wanda loses it a little bit and then people genuinely come out of it. But I think she was just trying to act like that was what had happened. And
Totally.
it didn't work.
And it didn't work.
Yeah.
Because Vision comes back in. Are we there yet?
No, we're not there yet.
Okay.
She sees the necklace.
Oh, right.
As she's being like, Wanda, don't be like that. Like, I'll help take care of the babies. And she's like, what is that necklace? And then we cut away. Like, we don't see, and so funny. I saw some people online be like, they genuinely thought that Wanda killed her to get rid of her. It's so funny to me. Because like, whoa.
Well, I mean, in the comics, Wanda's a little bit murdery.
That she is murdery. And I mean, I know in the MCU, they're also more likely to kill people. I just, in this moment, didn't think that she was gonna murder this person.
Especially because they haven't even done the reveal that she's Monica Rambeau, and we know that she is based on things that have been released about the show.
Yeah.
So
the actress Tiana Paris is cast as Monica Rambeau in Captain Marvel 2.
So we know that she didn't just up and kill her. So like, but I get it. I totally get it. Wanda is completely unstable right now, and she's known to be murdery.
Yes.
So
so Vision comes back in looking for Geraldine because now he's probably very worried about who she is and what her motivations are. And Wanda just says, oh, she had to run home. And there's horror music playing again. There's that horror movie music.
She sounded so crazy when she did that line delivery. It was such great acting on the part of Lizzie Olsen, because she was just like, she had to go home. Like it was just like like in The Omen and all those like the creepy kid movies. Like she almost channeled like the creepy kid character that's like come play with us, Danny. Like
no, yeah, she definitely did. Terrifying.
Yeah.
But then we, as the audience, get to see that what she did was boot Monica straight out of it, through the barrier, and into an army camp that's right outside the barrier. It's probably SWORD, maybe some military too, but this is definitely a huge issue. There's a barrier here, that I think we can pretty safely say you can't just walk into.
Right.
Like, Monica's gone because Wanda kicked her out.
Right.
Yeah. So do you think going through that barrier forcibly maybe gave her powers?
I mean, possibly. That would be really awesome if that was the way that they did it. Because we don't know anything about the barrier yet and what it can do, or why people can't, can people come in and out? Do they have to be booted? Like, there's so much we don't know. And I think in Act 2, we're going to be able to see a lot more of that. And kudos to you on the prediction that we were going to see another side or another element of SWORD in episode 3.
Oh, yay, I did it.
Yeah.
I think in the next episode, we're actually going to see a lot more. I think we might get the other side of things.
I think we're going to see Randall Park.
Yes, I hope so.
I hope we
I want to see it. I love, and I don't know if they'll keep this thread going in WandaVision or for his character at all, but I really love how much he wanted to learn about magic from Scott Lang, and now he's in this totally magic, totally made from nothing, impossible situation.
Okay, yeah, no, totally. But here's another thing I was thinking. So since a SWORD agent has been booted, yeah, SWORD need to have another agent come in. And if so, we know that Paul Bettany said that the next episode is the drunk uncle Family Ties episode. Mm-hmm. Is that Randall Park?
Oh, that would be insane.
I mean, I don't think that's correct.
I doubt it. I don't think you can just go into the barrier, and we're really not sure how Monica got in the first place.
Sure.
But I would say that seeing the sword agent in the beekeeper hazmat suit coming up through the sewers mean they found out like you could go under it,
Mhm.
right? And maybe the helicopter was there because initially you could also go over it and drop down into it. But I would imagine as the more weaknesses they find to get into the barrier, the more Wanda is correcting that.
Yeah, I was like, the tighter her grip is going to start.
Yeah. Now they're in a giant ball instead of just like a cylinder.
Yeah. I know that prediction is probably, it has no sound base at all. That's my hope. Because also,
big hope is that it's Pietro.
yeah, obviously the more logical and the way better prediction is that it's Pietro. It probably is Pietro, especially now that he has been brought up and that she clearly misses him and she can do whatever she wants in this world. So why not bring her brother back too? Like,
yeah, a part of her knows that Vision is dead, but he's here.
Yeah.
So like Pietro's dead, but he could be here too.
Yeah. So that is the more logical, more sound prediction. However, I did want to again introduce what my headcanon is to this show.
But to your prediction that she might bring him back wrong does speak to the drunk uncle episode of Family Ties, which co-starred Tom Hanks. He was the drunk uncle. Yeah. So I doubt he's in it, but
that'd be funny.
But here we are in a situation where if an uncle showed up and he wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that again, way more sound prediction that it's Pietro and he's probably not quite right. There's something off about him. Maybe it's the fact that we saw her lose a little bit more control in this particular episode. Maybe something has happened now that she's had the twins and she couldn't do exactly what she did with Vision and repeat it perfectly. Like,
I mean, she's losing it a little. How much can she actually take on? She doesn't have infinite power.
Totally.
But the uncle could also be Victor Mancha, who is Vision's brother, in that he's also the son of Ultron. Mm-hmm. But Victor is cyborg, so he doesn't look like Vision. He looks human, but he has robot parts. In the Vision comic that we've referenced many times, as has the show, the Avengers ask Victor essentially to go spy on Vision because they're worried about what's going on with him.
So since that comic has since this show has a tendency to take that comic and then do it a little bit differently, do we think that they'll take that storyline and maybe it won't be Victor, maybe it'll still be Quicksilver because we've introduced Pietro into this scenario? Or do we think that they're just going to go right ahead and introduce this character right here, right now?
I don't think they can, or again, maybe a little too wild to throw in, here's Vision's brother, Ultron also made him, I guess this is your uncle. But your thing about shields or sword sending in someone that they maybe already know, that wouldn't be that weird. Like maybe that Wanda would accept to coming in, or maybe they just straight up get Quicksilver. I don't know.
You know, our fan mediocre Jedi, or we get his scenario where all of a sudden we have a Hawkeye.
Yeah. If I were Sword and I wanted to send someone in to pretend that this was all normal and fine, I think she would accept seeing Hawkeye.
I completely accept that as well. So that could be the uncle as well. You know, all kinds of possibilities. I'm personally I'm very excited for this episode. I know prior to the show, we were asked which decades are we the most excited about? The more I hear about this next episode, the more I got excited about it. And now it might be one of my more anticipated episodes of the whole series.
Yeah. And when you look at the promos, they've shown us nothing. There's nothing from this episode. There's like a few outfit reaction shots, and
that's it. It's almost like, and that was something I noticed too, where I was like, did they just skip the 80s? But I think they're just keeping this episode super under wraps, and I'm hoping it's because it's just like that good.
I don't know if you saw that Paul Bettany said there's an actor he's always wanted to work with
I
that's
did
going
see
to be in
that.
WandaVision. So if this is some unknown character uncle, like a new actor coming in to play this part, that could be the actor he was talking about.
Totally.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of theories as to who it might be that he would want to work with, and I don't. He's already worked with so many.
That's the thing, is that when he said that, I was very shocked, because I was like, Paul Bettany is like almost Kevin Bacon level actor. Like, he does so much in so many things. Where, like, you know, he was in freaking A Knight's Tale, and then like A Beautiful Mind, and like there's so many random things that he's done that it's just like, who have you not worked with? So I'm very excited to figure out who this person is as well.
And I even like have been like, is there a chance he didn't work with someone who's already in the MCU, like where they just never ended up filming together? He's not an Endgame. So that rules out a couple people, but since he was also Jarvis, I feel like he's been in it the whole time.
Who does that rule out though in Endgame? It rules out what, like Hawkeye?
It rules out Benedict Cumberbatch. I think. I don't know. I could be wrong again, but that's the first time he interacts with Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
And Iron Man has already switched to Friday for his comm. Yeah. And then they go to space, and they don't come, and Strange doesn't come back till the very end, and then Vision isn't in the end of Endgame. So it could just be Benedict.
I mean, we know that this goes straight into Multiverse of Madness. They've said that.
But then there's also the chance they've worked together in something else.
I don't know. I mean, I hope
they have. They worked together in something else.
What?
Creation, 2009, the British biological drama about Charles Darwin.
No. I have not watched that, and I feel like I should have. Anyway, that's off topic.
That is.
So we've gotten through the episode.
Yes, except for the end was the Daydream Believer. I mean, I don't think there's anything like super Easter eggy about that, because
no, I think that was very obvious what that was.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Song of the time about being stuck in a daydream.
Mm-hmm. Guys, I don't think you need that one explained to us, or us to explain that to you.
Okay. So a few questions aside from the one we already did. From Instagram, Lirazilla.
Oh, Lirazilla. Okay. Yeah, cool. Hi.
Do you think Wanda is the villain of this? And then also, have you read the Phoenix story, which I assume is the Dark Phoenix saga?
Yes, I have read the Dark Phoenix saga.
As have I.
I'm not entirely sure why that would be brought in here.
Other than maybe a main character, a main good guy turning bad,
right?
Uncontrollable bad.
Possibly the introduction of the X-Men.
Yeah.
We thought that maybe that's going to be a thing here, but to address the other question, I mean, yeah, in a way she is. Like, even if she's not like the bigger bad, she definitely is the bad guy.
Yeah, she's not doing stuff that's good for anyone, including herself, honestly. Sure. This is not healthy.
For sure.
Instagram again. Hi, street girl. Do you think the animals, the lobster, the bunny, the stork, not leaving represent darker things?
We kind of touched on that question earlier.
Yeah, I don't know about the lobster is weird, because how did it end up on the door?
Yeah, because she threw it out the back window and it ended up on the front door.
Yeah.
So it had to have circled the house unless Agnes got the lobster, put it on the door, which does again support that she's working with whoever that person who's the animal might be.
Yeah. But it's probably Mephisto.
It's probably Mephisto.
Yeah, I definitely think the animals, as far as representation go, the rabbit and the stork are the devil. Mephisto.
Yeah, absolutely those. The lobster is a little bit more obscure, but at the same time, it's like a red thing that lives, that like, you know, is pinchy. So yeah, I mean, I thought of the lobster earlier when we were talking about animals, but I don't necessarily think it's the same theme, but it is interesting to throw it in there too, because you can't discount it as part of that theme.
Yeah, that's true. And then Facebook, Jeremy Hatcher sent us a bunch of great theories that he has, but I tried to like boil down just to one, Jeremy, so that we'd have time to talk about it, which is the more I watch the show, the more I think Vision is being used as a vessel for Mephisto.
That's an interesting theory.
It is really interesting. But it would imply then that Wanda has some power over Mephisto if he's in Vision, because she's been able to run time back and change things that he says.
Yeah, and also when in the very first episode, when he wants to help and can't help, she gives him permission to help. It's an interesting theory. I would like to, it's one that I think that is cool to keep in mind moving forward, to see more, but also there's no real evidence that Wanda has power over Mephisto.
No, yeah.
We know that he can enhance her powers. And if that's what you're talking about, Vision as a vessel is a very interesting theory, because that would mean that the only reason she's so powerful right now is because they're together.
Oh, that is interesting.
So that's very interesting to take the theory in that direction. I don't know that Mephisto would be, or Vision would be a vessel for Mephisto so much as maybe Mephisto is also influencing Vision somehow. Or what you brought up earlier in that convoluted comic of the pieces of the soul, maybe that's how Vision got brought back to life. Maybe there's a piece of Mephisto in Vision. And it's only because it's only a piece, she still has power over it.
Him being Mephisto, I guess, like the whole time, it kind of reminds me of when people say Gilligan was the devil, Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
Because even though it doesn't seem like he's trying to make stuff stop or not happen or keep them on the island, he keeps accidentally keeping them on the island.
Yeah. So I think that's a really interesting theory, Jeremy. Okay, Jeremy, cool. Moving forward, I definitely will want to see more evidence, and I really like that you thought of that. That's a really cool way to look at the show. So that's awesome. So thank you for sharing that with us.
And that is pretty much all the questions we had this week. Yeah.
Cool. Well, you guys, again, we're so excited about this coming episode. WandaVision airs on Friday, well, Thursday at midnight, but Friday on Disney Plus. This is a streaming service. And we are MCU Explained. I'm Susan.
I'm Tab.
And all of our social media information is going to be put into the information below, into the description. And again, these have been awesome questions. You guys send us some great stuff. So please keep it coming. Tell your friends about us, like us, and subscribe to us. And we will see you in the next video.